They say envy is more dangerous than anger, and if you've ever doubted that, this story might just change your mind. Before I begin, don't forget to like, comment the moral lesson you've learned, and share this story if it speaks to you. Uloma was the kind of girl who turned heads, not just because she was beautiful, but because she carried herself like someone who knew who she was. Light brown skin that glowed like caramel in the sun, a tall, curvy frame that made people whisper behind her back, and a face so soft and striking that many swore she must be a mermaid. After all, weren't mermaids known for their beauty and mystery? At just 19, Uloma was already in her 300 level, studying nursing at Enugu State University. Not only was she brilliant, topping her class and impressing lecturers, but she was also kind, friendly, gentle. Still, people kept their distance. Some were intimidated. Others just didn't know how to be around someone who shined that bright without dimming her light. She had no real friends. Compliments and gossip became her normal. And loneliness? She wore it like perfume. Something faint, always there, lingering. One hot evening during the second semester, Uloma stepped out of her off-campus lodge to buy a few things for dinner. As she reached the gate, she saw a girl struggling with two heavy travel bags and a parked bus beside her. Clearly, a new tenant moving in. Without hesitation, Uloma walked up, took one of the bags, and carried it upstairs to the girl's room. "Thank you so much," the girl said, smiling wide. Her voice was soft, almost childlike. "I'm Precious," she added. Ulama smiled back. "You're welcome to the hostel. You're really beautiful." And she meant it. Precious was stunning in her own right. Rich, dark skin like polished mahogany, curvy, petite, and with long, natural hair that looked like she actually took care of it. There was something shy about her, something quiet and almost too sweet. From that moment, they became neighbors. Then, slowly, friends. Precious was also 19, a nursing student too, but in 200 level. She was reserved and rarely talked to anyone except Uloma. They went to school together, cleaned each other's rooms, cooked sometimes, and finally, Uloma felt something she hadn't felt in a while: companionship. But friendship only works when both hearts mean it. What Uloma didn't know was that to Precious, the friendship was more of a battle than a bond. At first, it was just insecurity. Any time they walked together, all eyes fell on Uloma. Men stared, girls gossiped, even lecturers treated her like she was made of gold. And worst of all, the attention. Men in cars would pull over, offering her compliments and begging for her number. Uloma always turned them down. She wasn't that kind of girl. Her heart was rooted in church, her values unshaken. But to Precious, rejection or not, it stung. It made her feel invisible, forgettable, like she was just Uloma's shadow. Then came the day that broke everything. It was a sunny Saturday when they decided to walk to a nearby supermarket to get groceries. As they entered, Precious's heart skipped. There he was, a tall, handsome guy, early 20s maybe, with sharp cheekbones, clean dreadlocks, and the kind of presence that filled a room quietly. He stood by the biscuit aisle, scrolling through his phone, and Precious nudged Uloma, whispering with excitement, "He's so fine, look!" Uloma giggled, following her eyes. "He is oh!" Precious couldn't stop smiling. She even fixed her hair a bit, hoping he'd notice her. But by the time they were ready to pay, he was gone. Or so they thought. "Hi there," a voice said behind them. Deep, calm, smooth like butter on toast. They turned around. It was him. "Can I pay for your stuff?" he asked, scratching his neck, eyes darting between them. Precious blushed. Her heart danced. Omo, God has finally done it, she thought to herself. Uloma smiled too, nudging Precious slightly. This was her moment. After he paid, they thanked him and walked outside. Just as they were about to say goodbye, he offered them a ride. Uloma, being cautious, declined. But Precious pinched her arm lightly and answered for them both. We'd really appreciate it, she said sweetly, already heading to the passenger seat before Uloma could protest. In the car, they chatted casually. The guy introduced himself as Joseph, recently graduated, had his own car, and lived around town. Precious was glowing. Handsome, kind, and done with school? This is destiny, she thought. But then came the twist. As they got to their gate and were about to get out, Joseph called out, Wait, please! Uloma, can I talk to you for a second? Precious froze. I'd really like to stay in touch. Can I get your number? You're beautiful, he said, eyes locked on Uloma like she was the only one in the world. Uloma was startled. She refused at first, gently, but Joseph insisted, politely but firmly. Precious stood there, heart cracking with every word. And then Uloma gave it. That was the last straw. Precious didn't say a word. She turned around, her face tight, and walked away without looking back, leaving Uloma behind with Joseph and a sinking feeling in her chest. When Precious got home, she slammed the door shut and tossed the groceries on her bed like they were nothing. The smile she had worn at the supermarket had vanished. Her chest was tight, her throat burned, and her eyes wet. She sat at the edge of her bed, blinking hard, trying to stop the tears threatening to fall. She couldn't cry, not because of a man, not because of Uloma, not again. Just then, the door creaked open. Uloma stepped in slowly, holding the rest of the groceries. Precious, why did you leave me outside alone with a stranger? She asked, confused and concerned. Precious quickly wiped her eyes and looked away. A stranger you were already too eager to impress? Uloma frowned. What do you mean? I mean, Precious snapped, standing up now. Why were you giving the so-called stranger your number? Are you that cheap, Uloma? Silence. The words hit Uloma like cold water. She took a step back, stunned. What did you just say to me? You heard me, Precious replied, arms folded, face turned away. Uloma's voice dropped, hurt. Precious. You know, I didn't even want to give him my number. He insisted. He paid for our groceries and gave us a ride. I just didn't want to be rude. That's all. Rude? Precious scoffed. So your manners are more important than my feelings? That's not fair, Uloma said, her voice breaking. You were clearly blushing over him, and I backed off. I even sat at the back seat for you. I would never go for someone I knew you liked. You know that. Precious rolled her eyes and turned toward her bed. Please, I don't have your time. Just take your groceries and leave my room. I want to sleep. Uloma stood there for a moment, still holding the bag. Precious, don't be annoyed, please. If you like him that much, I'll give you his number now. I haven't even saved it. Precious turned her face to the wall. Her voice was low, dry. It's okay. Don't make me look like a pained person. Just forget about the matter. Uloma didn't argue. She dropped the groceries gently on the floor, whispered good night, and quietly left the room. 3 days passed. The air between them was cold, polite but distant. They still greeted each other, still walked to school together. But the laughter, the warm conversations, gone. Then, one afternoon, Uloma's phone rang. It was a number she didn't recognize. She hesitated, then picked. Hello? Hey, it's Joseph. From the supermarket, Uloma's heart skipped. Oh, hi. I hope I'm not bothering you. I just thought to check in. You seemed like someone worth knowing. Uloma paused. She looked over at the wall that separated her room from Precious's. She could almost feel her listening somehow. Uh, I'm fine. Thank you, she said carefully. Hope you're good too. Yeah? I'd like to see you again. Maybe take you out. No pressure, though. Uloma didn't know what to say. She wasn't used to men. She wasn't even thinking about dating. And Joseph? He came with too much heat, too much weight. She looked at her phone again, unsure, because somewhere behind that simple conversation, a silent war had already begun. Envy dressed as a friend. When Uloma told Precious that Joseph had reached out, Precious simply waved it off. Go nah, she said. Opportunity comes, but once Don't worry about me. I've gotten over that nonsense. He's not even my level Seth. Uloma hesitated. Something in her spirit felt uneasy, but Precious kept pushing her. Go now. You've already missed too many chances in life, Precious joked, even picking out a dress for her. That evening, Joseph arrived in his car to pick up Uloma. She looked stunning, dolled up in the very dress Precious had chosen. They went to a beautiful restaurant Uloma had never been to before. The ambiance was soft and romantic, and Joseph was calm, kind, and completely different from the way she had imagined him. After the date, he dropped her off on time and handed her a big bag of goodies, snacks, food, even drinks. For you and your friend, he said with a small smile. Back at the hostel, Precious lit up when she saw the bag. Ain! Are we doing wedding preparation? She teased, and the two of them laughed and ate together, like nothing had ever gone wrong. Over the following weeks, Ulama started falling for Joseph. With Precious's blessing, they officially began dating. But while Precious smiled outside, inside she was seething. She watched Uloma glow. She watched her laugh more, talk less. And worst of all, she watched her drift away. Each day, Joseph took up more space. And each day, Precious became lonelier. One night, while the hostel was silent, Precious sat alone in her room, face buried in her pillow as muffled sobs escaped her lips. She hated herself for feeling this way, but she couldn't stop it. The anger, the pain, the quiet question that echoed in her mind like a curse. Why her? She had always felt like Uloma had it easy. The face, the figure, the charm. Everything just worked for her. Even Joseph, who she had noticed first, had ended up with Uloma. And worst of all, Uloma hadn't even wanted him at first. She doesn't even try, Precious whispered bitterly. And still, everything comes to her. Days turned into weeks, and Uloma's relationship with Joseph blossomed. They took photos together. He surprised her with lunch. Sometimes he picked her up from class. Slowly, the time Uloma and Precious used to share disappeared like smoke. Precious tried to keep it together, but it boiled over the night Uloma forgot to attend her dance showcase, something she had begged her to come for. Uloma came in late, giggling into her phone. Do I mean nothing to you? Precious asked, her voice breaking. Uloma looked up, confused. What are you talking about? You forgot my show. I waited like an idiot. All my friends came. Everyone, except you. Uloma's smile faded. Oh my God, Precious. I'm sorry. I swear, I forgot. I didn't mean to hurt you. Tears rolled down her face as she reached out to hug Precious, but the hug didn't fix the crack it had already caused. Precious nodded and smiled eventually, but something inside her had shifted. For good. From that night, she started watching Uloma more closely, quietly, strategically. When Uloma left her phone unlocked on the bed one morning, Precious stole Joseph's number and saved it under a fake contact name. And then, the messages began. She texted Joseph anonymously, feeding him twisted lies. She told her friends you're boring. She's seeing someone else. Ask her about that guy from the chemistry department. At first, Joseph didn't believe it. He even showed one message to Uloma and laughed it off. But then Precious got smart. She started planting things Uloma had told her in confidence, tiny, innocent truths, and twisted them until they looked like betrayal. Joseph began to change. He stopped picking up Uloma's calls. He got irritated easily. Once, he even yelled at her in front of the school gate for being manipulative. Uloma was crushed. She ran back to Precious, crying into her arms, not knowing that the same arms holding her were the hands pulling her down. That's just how relationships are sometimes, Precious said softly, stroking her hair. You'll be okay. But secretly, Precious was furious. Her plan wasn't working fast enough. Joseph and Uloma were still together, still laughing, still posting cute captions and exchanging gifts. And that's when she decided Uloma had to go, not just out of Joseph's life, out of hers, forever. It was a quiet Friday evening when Precious made her move. They had just finished preparing rice and stew in Uloma's room. Music played faintly from the corner. Uloma, always the cheerful one, offered to run downstairs to buy some drinks from the shop nearby. I'll be back in 5, she called out. The moment she left, Precious moved quickly. She reached into her drawer and pulled out a small white sachet. A friend had once told her it could paralyze a dog in minutes. Tasteless, scentless. She poured it into one of the plates and stirred it gently, breathing heavily, heart pounding. Then she sat back down, placed the poison plate on Uloma's side of the table, and forced herself to smile. Just then, she heard a crash. Ah! Uloma groaned from outside. My phone! It's gone! Ooh! Precious stood. Let me grab mine. We can use my hotspot. She stepped out to her own room to fetch her charger, unaware that in her absence, fate had shifted. When Uloma entered and saw the plate had spilled slightly, her instincts kicked in. Something felt off. She stared at the 2 identical plates and paused. A strange feeling settled in her chest. Without thinking, she swapped the food into another clean plate, identical to the one that had fallen, and returned it to her spot. She left the untouched plate, Precious's original dish, beside her roommate's chair. Moments later, Precious returned. They sat. Precious took a bite first, chatting casually about the movie they were about to watch. Uloma, she said with a mouthful. This rice even sweet past the usual. Then her sentence stopped midway. She grabbed her throat. Ulu, ma! She choked. I can't breathe. My chest. Uloma jumped up. What's wrong? Precious stood up too quickly, knocking over the plate. She vomited. Once. Twice. Water! She screamed. Help me! I think I'm dying! Uloma screamed for help, her own hands shaking violently. Neighbors rushed in and carried Precious out. The doctor's words were cold and brutal. She was poisoned. Someone wanted her dead. Uloma stared in horror. What? How? The police were called. Uloma told them everything, from the food prep to the drink run to the swapped plates. The officer leaned back, arms crossed. Can't you see? That plate was meant for you. Uloma collapsed into the hospital bench, crying harder than she'd ever cried in her life. Precious survived. Barely. When she opened her eyes and saw Uloma sitting beside her with bloodshot eyes and a torn heart, she broke down immediately. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Why? Uloma asked through her tears. I loved you. Precious couldn't meet her gaze. Because you're everything I'm not, she said quietly. And I was tired of pretending it didn't hurt. I wanted to destroy you, but I destroyed myself instead. She was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Uloma never visited, not once. She told Joseph everything, and he, heartbroken, confessed that he had been manipulated too, that he should have trusted her more. Uloma cried for days, not for Joseph, not for the betrayal, but for the friendship she once believed was real. Because in the end, envy didn't come with a knife. It came dressed as a friend. And the person who was the villain ended up to be the victim. What would you have done if you were in Precious' shoes?